a scion of many worlds. "Someone's eager," the voice says, and Clara turns in shock. Her wig is off and she's carefully salvaged as much of her makeup as possible. Nice disguise. Clara does not inform the woman that she is not in disguise. She's in the garments she hasn't been able to repair yet. In addition to her financial failures, she's a slow and clumsy seamstress, one prone to impaling her fingers fairly badly. Mara doesn't even have the patience for that. "Thank you," she says. "Now, how is this? Just follow me. Casual. Don't run. Don't look around like you've never been somewhere before. You've actually dressed down pretty well. Now, put this on. It'll cover the rest. Put the hood up and follow me," the voice says, handing Clara a slightly stained but very well reinforced and practical traveling cloak. "Also tuck your hair back." Clara does so, and the voice starts walking away and she rushes to keep up with the smooth and strong strides. She does, however, have a question to ask. "What is your plan?" "We're going to the Authorized Valley," the voice states. "But it's a week's hard ride from here," Clara protests. "You haven't gone through the gateways yet, have you? Those dangerous things that the army of the Moth poured from? They're safe to travel through. My order has slipped through them many times. They're harmless," the voice assures her. To try and kill the Moth?" "Yes." "I see," she says, still nervous despite the reassurance. "Don't look in there, silly woman." The voice chides her as they pick their way through the capsule city, and Clara's eyes are drawn to some sudden movement down an alleyway. There's the shout from a guard as an armed woman rushes in to break up whatever is. The voice's hand is on her wrist and pulling her along. Clara hadn't even realized she had stopped to stare. "What's happening?" "Nothing that concerns you, and will only become a concern if you stick your nose in it or stare too long. I thought you were one of the main," Clara begins, and the voice's other hand wraps around her mouth. "How did your family reach as far as it did?" the voice demands in a more than slightly shocked tone as she all but drags the woman through the city. "Don't treat me like a child. I'm not—" "Be silent," the voice states. "But, listen. The swiftest route to whom we are meeting is through a part of this city where women like you find sharp objects. Often. Do you understand?" "We're not going to the Authorized Valley," Clara asks. "We are, but we're taking a different route," the voice says. "But that portal, we're going through it. We're going the wrong way." "Are we?" the voice asks. "We are," Clara protests. "News to me." A new, impossibly deep voice as a gigantic fireborn steps out of the alleyway. They stand easily 3 times Clara's own height and has a physical shape more akin to the moth. There is none of the fruitfulness where it should be. The bosom is naught but hard muscle, and the flaming presence of the hair is neither yellow nor red but a bright, brilliant blue. It's another man, an Aromenta man of the same sheer power and presence as the moth. Clara is completely at a loss for words. "Ladies, here we are, as agreed. My cooperation and your test subject," the voice says. "Test subject?" Clara asks in shock. "Yes, we're working on perfecting a healing technique. Or rather, Dr. Skitterway has an experimental restorative totem that works faster than a healing coma but requires the active participation of the person being healed." "I don't know what that means." "We're healing people of a lot of things. The voice here has recommended you as someone to practice a new technique on." The enormous Aromenta states, "I'm Jared Sampson, codenamed Charizard. I'm a member of Titan Squad." "So, what's a Charizard?" Clara asks, and Jared sighs to himself. "Never mind. That's not important," Jared says. "Now, are you two ready?" "We are," the voice says before Clara can say anything else, and the man nods, but doesn't do anything beyond looking to Clara, which is a relief. The man is just so big and scary. Big and scary. "I'm not going to hurt you," he says, and she can feel his voice rumble through her. How can anything that big not hurt someone, even if only by accident? Then he seems to almost fall down as he goes down to one knee and reaches down for her. I know I look scary, but I have no weapons. I have no armor. I'm not here to hurt anyone. There's a slight coughing sound from the voice, and Jared gives her as stern look. She holds up her hands in surrender, and after a few moments, Clara grabs onto his gigantic right index finger. Thank you. Now, this is going to feel a little strange, but it won't hurt. Then, just as the voice grabs onto the man's thumb and can barely wrap her fingers around it, there's a sudden pulling sensation, and all the colors of the world run together and rearrange into someplace else. Clara lets go and staggers back with her head on a swivel to try and take in the area. She's suddenly in a small city block built around a large gateway made of varnished and painted logs that leads elsewhere. The stone of the buildings around her are all single solid pieces, and everything is in flawless shape. Only the palace is so well crafted and maintained, but this is no palace. This way, please, Jared says, leading them to the massive portal and stepping through to elsewhere. Curious, Clara instead goes around it and looks through from the back. It's still leading somewhere else. A somewhere else that Jared is now looking through and reaches his hand through for her to take. She does, and he gently guides her. She is now in the Aridus Valley, hundreds, if not thousands of kilometers from the capital of Miru. There was no way that such a distance could be crossed so easily, so trivially. Come along now. It's time for you to meet Dr. Skitterway. Isn't Skitterway one of the moth's names? Clara asks. She's his mother, Jared says. Another giant Earthani? Clara asks. No, I am not. A clipped voice suddenly says, and Clara spins to suddenly find herself face to face with an 8-eyed woman with clear fangs, 4 arms, 4 legs, and her body contorted as if she was trying to lunge at her. Oh, calm yourself. I'm not going to hurt you. Whoa, where did you? The voice begins to ask. One of my drones saw you arrive, and I've decided to get on task as quickly as possible. Now, I assume that this young light Aromenta is my patient. From what I understand, you have enormous headaches and have a very hard time understanding things, yes or no? Yes. Then you are my patient. I am here to heal you, Dr. Skitterway says before suddenly turning to the voice, which means that you are the girl in charge of the Cretans trying to take my son away from me again. I'm here to fully call them off and bring them home. I can recognize an exercise in futility when I see one. Not only can we not actually hurt your son, but we no longer desire to. We return the payment. The contract is broken, the voice states. Good, Dr. Skitterway says, and she turns back to Clara. I'm going to scan you now in order to get a good idea on exactly what level of damage I'm dealing with here. I can already see small distortions in your sclera that hint at possible brain damage. She suddenly has a small floating thing shining a bright light into Clara's eyes. Tell me, child, these headaches, what usually provokes them? Clara begins trying to focus, but it's really hard as she can almost touch some things that are flittering around her. Just look at the light, child, now. What brings you a headache? When I feel bad. When I try to think too hard. There's all sorts of things. Stress would make any number of mental issues far worse, Dr. Skitterway says, and the little floating thing suddenly turns off and floats away. Scan complete, and we are looking at, you poor girl, doubled quick arrows. Rapid recursive cloning condition? Jared asks. Precisely. It's fairly endemic among the population, but it doesn't mean that every case isn't a tragedy in its own right, Dr. Skitterway says. May I have an explanation, please? The voice asks. Weren't you going to go call off your goons from harassing my son? My daughter has similar issues. What's going on? The voice demands as she crosses her arms and Dr. Skitterway slumps a little. Then she straightens up and has a small flying orb gather above a palm. Light pours from it and makes images. Most prominent is a ladder all twisted that goes on for a long time. Most of it is in blue, but the occasional part is bright red. Rapid recursive cloning condition, or doubled copy errors as is its nickname, is a danger in the cloning process. To summarize at a level I'm fairly confident everyone present can understand, when you clone something, you copy it. However, no copy process is perfect, so each copy is a little different. The problem is that while some differences are harmless or even beneficial, many of them are harmful or dangerous. Rapid recursive cloning condition is when not only are these differences harmful, but they're growing and not going away with each copy. So, Clara begins, if, say, a skilled tradeswoman had a daughter that was a clone, then that might happen. Yes, but rapid recursive cloning condition only occurs after several generations of cloning, which for all intents and purposes, all of Lacron effectively is. But I'm not a perfect copy of my mother. No, you're not. But the differences between you and your mother are so slight that a scan would have you looked at more like her sister, and she would be more like her mother's sister and her mother's sister, and it would go all the way back to the crash of the nest, Dr. Skitterway says. So is this the fault of the grand midwives? The voice asks, and Clara perks up and frowns at the thought. Don't you start blaming them now. Those girls have pulled of a legitimate miracle with the lack of resources they've been working with. They're one of the most powerful organizations on Lacron. And it wasn't enough to keep everyone healthy. If they didn't have some truly gifted women among their numbers, then only the Nagasha would have survived this long, and solely because Isarisen has been providing fresh and strong blood so consistently, Dr. Skitterway says before nodding. You're more or less a perfect patient young lady. Follow me and I will walk you through a new and swifter healing method. It's still experimental, so I will be there next to you to ensure things go smoothly. With that, the Spider-Woman turns around and starts walking off at a fast pace, leaving the stunned Clara behind as she tries to process everything she just learned. Before Clara can fully process things, Dr. Skitterway has returned and plucked her off the ground by her elbows and begins walking off with her without a single word being said. Wait, what are you? Clara begins before reality shifts and warps again. Suddenly, they're in a place of metal, white light, and smooth ceramic. She's set down, and the abrupt Spider-Woman skitters past her and collects what seems to be a flat disc attached to a stick by its edge. More of a wand or scepter, really. She comes back with the shimmering bronze item and holds it up for Clara to take. The process is very simple. Do you see the image in the middle? The moth? Clara asks as she traces her fingers over an indent even as she takes it from Dr. Skitterway with her other hand. Yes, what you have to do is focus on the symbol while focusing as much axiom as you can, the doctor says, and Clara turns it over and sees that there are tiny seams in the side of the disc. It's not one disc, it's a dozen, all face to face. But on the other side, it's just as smooth as the first one, right down to the moth symbol in the middle. Why a moth? My son inspired me. It's only right that I use his silhouette in it. Dr. Skitterway says, what's he like? The great moth? There are so many rumors and stories. You're asking the wrong woman. He's my son. I would and have moved the very heavens for him. I'll do it every single day for him if I have to, because he's my child and I love him. Like I love Mara. You have a daughter? I do. And she suffers as I do, but it's even worse for her, Clara says before her grip on the scepter goes from uncertain to firm. She turns to the doctor and looks her right in the eyes, all 8 of them. Will this heal her? Clara demands. If it works, it must be tested first, Dr. Skitterway says, and I need to focus on the moth while channeling all the power I can. Clara does not ask this. She simply states it. Her mind is already made up. Yes, Dr. Skitterway says simply. For how long? Until you feel it run clear and smooth, Dr. Skitterway says. The eruption of axiom being pulled into the room is unmistakable, and Clara's gaze is focused maniacally on the moth image. She can feel the power. It's flowing murky and rough, particularly around her head, but not just her head, it's all over her. Her left knee suddenly feels much better as the power suddenly starts running just a little smoother there. Clara suddenly understands and focuses all the harder.